Hello, 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 everyone. Everyone waiting, everyone watching. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this week's GMass office hours. Hello, welcome. Can't wait to have you here to answer all your GMass questions. We'll be starting in, it looks like, about 5.5 minutes, according to my guess. And I can't wait to have you here. Go ahead, if you're here already, drop your questions in the chat. Say hello. Hello to you. God, this is the first one is a word that I'm gonna struggle to pronounce. Cumpleaños. That's what I'm going for. I'm sorry, that's bad. But welcome, hello. As you're here, joining in on the stream, say hi, introduce yourself if you'd like. Again, you can preemptively drop your questions in here. We are officially going to start in about 5 minutes. And what we do here in the office hours is I will just go through the questions you put in the chat, and the questions that you put in that some people submitted in advance. Some people submitted when they RSVP'd, and I will answer those as well. The way that I like to do it is I'll go through live questions in the chat. We'll go back and forth. I'm screen sharing here, so you'll be able to see, whatever whatever I'm trying to demonstrate. I will do my best to fully demonstrate, and then once I've gotten through all the live questions, I will sprinkle in the questions that people asked in advance via the RSVPs. So, hello, welcome in. Looking forward to getting started momentarily. I can't wait to help your questions. Yes, I see a question I believe is in Russian, and I don't speak that, but I'm going to just run that through ChatGPT to see if we can't figure out what you're asking. So let me try to figure that out. Translate that. All right, and we'll see what that says. So again, you are the leader of Dammersoft. Hello, welcome to you. And I will continue to try to translate what you say and do my best. And that's how we do it here. ChatGPT is gonna handle my translation needs for me here today, as I will answer questions. We'll get started in about 3 minutes. My name is Sam, by the way. I am the head of content here at GMass. And this is our 5th or 6th weekly office hours. Really like doing these, having a chance to just talk to GMass users and answer your questions live. I know that this medium is really helpful for a lot of people to see a demonstration, to have a little bit, be able to go a little bit back and forth to answer questions. So as people join up, we will get started officially in 3 minutes. And then I will be, I will be going and just kind of hopping in and doing the questions. Again, so go ahead. I genuinely do not know what is happening in the chat, but I will answer questions as best I absolutely can. And we will be getting started here officially in about 2 minutes. So, yes, welcome in again, and I can't wait to chat with all of you, answer your questions, whatever problems you may have. Looking forward to doing. Again, my name is Sam from GMass. That's how I get this cool shirt, and I will be answering your questions. So if you are here and you have GMass questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I will not be able to do translations live when I'm talking and answering questions. So if you could do me a favor and translate your questions to English, that would be super helpful for me. So I appreciate it. And all right, it's kind of getting wild here. Yes, so we will be starting officially in 1 minute. Please go ahead. If you have GMass questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I will answer them in the order that we received them. If not, we had a bunch of really good questions that people submitted in advance when they RSVP'd, and I will be happy to answer those as well. And yes, this is this will be a good one. I can see we get some Let's get some fire in the chat here today. So let's roll. We'll be starting right at the top of the hour. For me, that is 10 a.m. For you, it is probably later than that, unless you are also here on the west coast of the United States, in which case, good morning. Everywhere else, good afternoon, good evening. We are just about to get started on our live office hours for this week and can't wait to help you out. So please go ahead and drop your questions in the chat if you have them. It is now the top of the hour. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to office hours. So please go ahead and drop any GMass questions you have in the chat. If there are no GMass questions in the chat yet, that's fine. We have a bunch that people RSVP'd for. I know that a lot of people do like to come to these office hours just to see the other answers, and then maybe something comes to mind. So I will get started. Again, welcome to GMass Office Hours for June 20th, 2024. My name is Sam. I am the VP of Content here at GMass, and I am going to be answering questions live for as long as we have them. And I will dive right in right now to questions that people asked in advance. If you have questions, please go ahead, put them in the chat, and I will answer them. In the meantime, I'm going to answer them, some of the ones that we received, in fact, all of the ones we received from RSVPs. So, actually, we did get a question here. So, Alex, I created an outreach list based on opens from the initial outreach, but that list is producing unrealistic open rates and mega clicks, but no traffic to the site. Interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at that. And let's see. Yeah, so what Alex here is saying that he did is he went ahead and created using this follow-up campaign option here in GMass, which is when you have a past campaign, you can go through that campaign and create a follow-up based on the user behavior from that campaign. So what Alex is saying is that Alex created an outreach list based on opens. So picked a prior campaign, went with people who opened it, and sent a new campaign. But that list is producing unrealistic open rates and mega clicks. So, I mean, the open pixel is what the open pixel is. In terms of looking at open rates, something that you can look at here for the campaign is let's look at a campaign here. And something that you might want to look at here is let's open this report, actually. Let's open, those are the opens. Let's open the web-based report, and then we'll take a look. So we do break out opens two ways here. We have the open rate, which shows you that this campaign had 9 opens. That's 100%. That's also an ad. And then we also have the open rate excluding Apple Mail privacy protection opens. That's opens that were automatic by Apple. So those can sometimes bump up the numbers. You can click into this, and you can actually see how many times each person opened. Now, when it comes to your open rate, we are only counting unique opens. So even though this email address opened this campaign 9 times, that we're not saying that whatever this adds up to, like 30 opens out of 9 emails, we're just saying you had 9 opens out of 9 emails. As for the astronomical email open rate, I mean, it's hard for me to say exactly why it could be. Yeah, as Shine from our team is saying, it could be bots, bot opens and clicks from Office 365 domains. There are other domains that are do have the tendency to sometimes open your emails, right? And this is becoming more common. That can account for open rates. It's why some people have become less reliant on open rates. What I would say is if you have a campaign like that and it seems like the opens are unrealistic, then maybe use the other metrics primarily to gauge the efficacy of your campaign. For instance, if you had an 85% open rate, you just don't think that's realistic, but as you said, you're not getting traffic to the site, that could probably point to the fact that perhaps your list is getting a lot of bot opens. One of the things that people have been doing more and more is as they become less reliant on open rates, figure out what the key metric is. It sounds like you're looking at click-through rate. So maybe try your next campaign and really use click tracking. And I know that some people don't love click tracking, but in this case, try using click tracking, see how your click rates are looking, and that could be responsible. I haven't seen a ton of anecdotal evidence lately about people who are having like crazy open rates. I feel like I thought that had sort of I don't know. Again, from my experience, I thought that it kind of tailed off a bit, but it is entirely possible it's happening to you, and it really can depend on who you're sending to, what email client they're using, who their email provider is. Hopefully, so I would say try another campaign. Really measure this one based off click rates, and maybe start for a little while until your open rates seem like they've come back down to earth. Yeah. Check that. And Shine, who's from our team, who's our deliverability expert, has also provided a couple of ideas here in the chat. If you go down to the bottom of the live report and you can load domain stats right here, this button you can see, then you can see where the opens are coming from, right? So you could see like if it was a certain domain, or you're getting 100% from one of the domains you've sent to, then that is a good indication. So that's a good idea right there. All right, Alex, I hope that helps. Keep us posted. Next up, we're going to look at Andre's question. Great, Alex. I hope that helps, and definitely keep us posted if you continue to have trouble. Andre says, is there any way I can use my iCloud business address with GMass? So GMass is a product that works inside Gmail and Google Workspace. It is a Google product. However, you can send with an alias and use any address as an alias as long as you add that alias into Gmail. So if you're not familiar with the process, here in the Gmail settings, you can, in an account, see here's an account. So this is my primary account. This is a random account that I have. And then this is an alias I added. So you can add another email address, and then you can send mail from that account. So it would come from that account, but you can still use GMass when you're sending that as an alias. We also have instructions here. Dare, I appreciate you coming here, but you're not helping the cause right now. Sorry, bud. And so you can come over here into the GMass blog. And here in the GMass blog, you can find, we have some good content here that can help you set up an alias. We have a few articles, in fact, on it so that you can follow these instructions to set up the alias in GMass to send from another. Welcome to everyone who's here on the stream, by the way. If you're just getting here, my name is Sam. And I am from GMass, and I am answering your live questions. If you have live questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Don't worry about when I'm waiting for me to finish another question. Just go ahead and drop them in. I'll answer them in the order we receive them. And if you RSVP'd in advance and put a question there with your RSVP, I will be answering those after we go through the live questions as well. So again, please welcome. Please share your questions. Looking forward to answering all of them. So let's go back over to Gmail. And let's go to the next question from Miguel. Oh, great, Andre. Great, that helped. I'm so glad to hear that helped. Yeah, definitely check that content out if you need help setting up aliases in Gmail. Miguel, if I sign up for a professional plan with priority support, will they help me get set up? I hear it's very easy to use GMass, but I don't see video tutorials on your blog. Deciding on premium versus pro. Well, a couple of things on that. One, all I've been working on lately are these video tutorials. When I'm not doing these office hours this week, pretty much all I've been doing are working on really great video tutorials for GMass, and it is my biggest project right now. I'm going to start rolling them out very soon. So we will have more video tutorials, even better video content. In terms of helping you get set up, it sort of depends on the case. We can do some things to some extent. What I would recommend to get started in GMass is, well, when you sign up, there's an onboarding tour that can walk you through. But here is the GMass Quick Start Guide. And I would recommend going to this GMass Quick Start Guide. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And what you'll find there is this GMass Quick Start Guide is a very, very, very well-documented step-by-step instruction, and it will walk you through at least the basics of connecting GMass and sending your first campaign, seeing how you connect a Google Sheet to a GMass campaign. I think that once people have that realization, once you've tried this procedure in GMass and you just see, oh, here's how I connect a Google Sheet, here's how I use mail merge, here's how I send the campaign, everything starts to become clear from that. So I highly recommend just walking through this quick start guide, and hopefully that this will get you going in the right place. Premium versus pro. So he's talking about the two different GMass plans. And what I would say is, So the biggest differences between Premium and Pro are obviously Pro adds inbox rotation, which is our multi-send feature. That's to distribute a campaign across multiple email addresses, and it adds the high priority support. Miguel, I hope that, as you're getting started, let's see, you said you have access to emails and leads, hundreds per day, and want to get to thousands per day. I understand GMass says bypasses Gmail limits. Does that mean you could send the email copy to hundreds/thousands of emails? Well, okay, so that's sort of an ancillary question. So let's talk about that now. And actually that come back to the inbox rotation. So yes, fundamentally, Gmail itself does put limits on you. With a free gmail.com email address, you can send up to about 500 emails a day. I actually saw someone today who had a question on our Facebook group and was getting cut off at about 200. That's entirely possible. Google decides internally, somewhere, based on something, what your daily limit should be. For a paid Google Workspace account, the limit is up to 2,000 emails a day. So obviously, at the volumes that you're talking about, you're going to want to send more than that. So GMass has two primary ways you can really break daily limits. One is you can connect an SMTP server. And what will happen is when you connect an SMTP server, you'll do that in the dashboard here. You'll go to the SMTP server. You can use any of these most popular ones. I'm going to tell you, Miguel, don't worry, I got you here. Yes, I will. So you can connect to this SMTP server. So this is the first way that you can break the limits. And you pick, whatever service you use, whether it's SendGrid, Mailgun. Here you see I used ReachMail. Enter your credentials here. Then here in the Gmail limit section of the settings, tell GMass what to do when it detects you've hit Gmail's limit in a campaign. In this case, I'm choosing reroute to my SMTP server. So if I send 5,000 emails and I hit my Google Workspace limit, let's say at 1,500, the other 30 GMass would then reroute the remaining 3,500 through that SMTP server. So that's one way. The other and the more popular way in this day and age with cold emailers, especially high volume cold emailers, is we're seeing a lot of people use inbox rotation. That's in the Pro plan, and that's GMass multi-send. So let me tell you a little bit about that for those unfamiliar. Multi-send is what is taking your campaign, and instead of sending like 1,000 emails from one email address, it distributes your campaign across many sending addresses, which you connect here. So let's say you connected 20 email addresses, and that way, rather than sending 1,000 emails from one email address, it would send 50 from your 20 email addresses, right? So that's a much better way to send smaller volumes from more addresses. It eliminates the need for like crazy long warm-up periods or ramp-up periods often because you're sending smaller volumes. And to do that, you can set up your all your sending accounts here. You only need the main one to be paid on GMass. And then you set up your multi-send account here. For instance, I have 3 other email addresses connected to here, and then in your when you're making a GMass campaign, here in the settings, in the advanced section, you choose multi-send, and then you can select which of your sending accounts you want to send from. So in this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a bunch of sending accounts here. I can distribute this across those sending accounts. So I have my primary account and then all my other sending accounts. So that's one way, and that's a very popular way in this era to distribute your campaign across multiple sending accounts. Now, let's address question 2, and that is Miguel. And question number 2 is, so multi-send, by the way, because you were talking about plans, is available on professional plan or on team plans. It's not available. It's not available on the mid-tier premium plan. So let's talk about the next thing that you talked about, which is, can you use the same email copy for hundreds or thousands of emails? Well, I mean, technically you can. Now, GMass, none of these things is a magic wand that guarantees that if you're sending 1,000 identical emails, that some of those or most of those or many of those aren't going to go to spam, especially if there are spam triggers in there, which is, say, people marking them as spam or people sending them to spam. One option you can do if you want to avoid those identical emails is using spin tax. So let me walk you through really quick the concept of spin tax if you're not familiar. Spin tax is the process of varying up your content within the email. So for instance, here, I use ChatGPT to generate it, and then you have, and then you, here's, let me pull this up larger. So basically what I did is, let's take this for a whirl, spin, ride. So you can spin up the content. So the emails aren't exactly identical. Now, is this deliverability alchemy, or is this certain to work? I don't know. But it's very popular to spin your copy so that you're not sending exactly identical emails. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say that if you add better personalization to better targeting, odds are you're going to get better results and fewer people marking you as spam. But that's, so yes, that is, this is a popular option. If you really are going to be sending pretty similar or very similar content, adding in spin tags, at least to vary up the content a little bit, is something that people really like to do. Now onto your onto the third question, which is, do we start off by connecting GMass to an SMTP server? You can. You can absolutely start off by connecting GMass, by connecting your SMTP server here. Where did my dashboard go? Here's my dashboard. So you can absolutely start off by connecting your SMTP server and then using that for the overages. Using that for the overages here. And yes, GMass will immediately start sending your high volume campaigns from your SMTP server. You may also want to try inbox rotation through GMass multi-send like I demonstrated, because that is a very popular technique, especially in the modern era with cold emailers. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. You may find a lot of success with that. I know that this has become very popular as I watch the numbers on the number of people signing up for our highest level, our professional plan, because it has that inbox rotation. Those have continued to rise as this technique is becoming more and more and more popular. The reason we put it in our professional plan is because it is intensive on us. And so it is one of the highest load things that we do. But I hope that helps. In terms of using your most aged or Gmails or rotate, with multi-send, I would say, mix in different different domains. Free Gmail, they don't all, your multi-send accounts, all your connected sending accounts, they can be on different domains. As you know, and clearly you have the understanding of this, an active account, one that's aged, one that's on a domain that's been around for a while, an email account that's been actively used, that's generally going to start from a better place than if you have a brand new domain and a brand new email address. And obviously, you're going to want to warm those up a little bit before you jump in. But again, the good thing about using multi-send with inbox rotation is that you're not sending 1,000 emails from one address. You're sending much smaller volumes from an address so that you're diversifying your risk there. If one of the addresses just gets, Google decides like this is just a spam email address, you're kind of insulating it a little bit. So that's recommended for that. But a lot of people still are using this SMTP server technique to send out very high volume emails on GMass. We have a lot of very high volume emailers on here. I think you can try both techniques. Miguel, it sounds like you, have the understanding and you may find luck with those. Let me read your other question. The reason I was asking is because my mentor tells me GMass is almost push button, meaning it will only take a few minutes each day, and the rest of it I can hit the phones. That is our goal with GMass, is that, right, you could set up this campaign, you could set up your multi-send campaign, and you can just send it out and blast it. In fact, Miguel, something you might also find useful are recurring campaigns, which is where you could set up a Google Sheet with your contacts. And then as you set up your campaign, set up multi-send, and then here in the schedule section, choose repeat. And you could have it, I haven't connected to Google Sheet, but you could have it said every day. Let me connect to Google Sheet so I can show you. You could have it send so that every day when you add new email addresses to your Google Sheet, that campaign automatically sends. And if you have multi-send set up, it would automatically distribute that campaign across your addresses. So here in the schedule section, if you want to repeat every day to new rows. So what this would do is you've set up your campaign, then every day GMass will check your Google Sheet, and any new rows you've added to that Google Sheet will get this campaign. So it's not just push button. In theory, Miguel, you could have this campaign basically on autopilot where you're just adding your leads. GMass is sending it in the background, distributing it across those addresses. We're handling unsubscribe management. We're handling bounce management for you behind the scenes. So any emails or follow-ups you try to send to them are being suppressed. And then, yes, you can focus on working the phones and the sales calls. So that's a technique that you also might find helpful. Setting this up essentially as an automation, setting it up one time, pressing the GMass button, and just letting it ride. This could be a really good technique for you, especially at your volume and, someone like you who doesn't want to spend all their time inside of email. This is a really this could be a really productive way for you to send out your emails with, frankly, like minimal effort in here. So I would recommend checking this out. Let me know if you have any other questions. I think I hit everything you've asked. Hopefully it helps. And you'll be personalizing by company name. Great. So that's a little bit of personalization. You're personalizing by company name, spin tags. And obviously personalization is not only demographic information, but personalization is also personalization of need, right? So that you're sending a targeting plan, so that you're sending a targeted email plan to everyone, so that it's hitting what they need and when they need it. Yes, professional plan does offer the highest tier of support. If you sign up for that, yes, that has our as we looked at in the pricing. The professional plan does have the high priority support. So I know our support team, and also, as you see, we do have other avenues where we can help you. These office hours are here weekly. We also have our Facebook group, which is a good place to ask questions as well. Let me share the link for that really quick too. We have a really cool Facebook group where you can go and you can share questions there. I monitor that. Many of the other people on GMass check that out. Our support team also keeps an eye on that. And you also get help from the community there. So that's another good way. But yes, the professional plan does have the high priority support. So if you're looking, and especially if you're looking for inbox rotation, check out the professional plan. And of course, it becomes significantly cheaper if you do the annual plan. That breaks down to a much lower monthly cost than if you do it monthly. But even monthly, this is still about half the price of anyone else offering inbox rotation at this scale. So hopefully that this is a plan that's very affordable for you. All right, let's see. I have a question from Karen. Hi, Karen. Welcome. I just wanted to know how to get first name to appear in greetings and emails. I sent an email this week, and it didn't enter the first name in the greeting. Karen, I believe you submitted that in advance in the RSVPs. I looked into it, and so I do want to walk you through that. So it sounds like it's probably just a mail merge issue. So let's look into this. So I have a Google Sheet set up here. As you can see, I have email address as one column. I have people's first names in one column, and that's what we're going to focus on here. So I have first names here. So I have Greg, Andrew, Yardley, Karen, Howard, and Mike. So then what I will do is I will start a new campaign by connecting that Google Sheet. So I connect the Google Sheet. I press the Google Sheet button. It was called Demo Sample Group. I'm picking, and I'm going to connect to my Google Sheet. So now, as you saw, we had 6 people on this Google Sheet. GMass says this will go to 6 recipients. So I can type my message, hello, and then there are 2 options to mail merge the first name. I could say hello, and then type the left curly brace. That's the next to the P with the shift key, and pick first name. Hello, first name. How's it going? The other way is, if you don't want to do the left curly brace technique, you can come down here into the GMass settings, over here into the personalize area, select first name from here. That now copies that to the clipboard, and I can paste it where I need. So I can paste it there. I could also paste it into the subject line if I wanted. So now what I'll do, just to show you how this works in practice, is I'm going to create drafts of these. So, you know, when you're creating the GMass campaign, you can either send the campaign or you can create the drafts if you want to double check and make sure your mail merge worked right. And it sounds like in your case, if you had a little issue with mail merge, you may want to create drafts. And then after you've created the drafts, GMass will put them all in your drafts folder right here in Gmail. You can check them out. You can spot check them. And then you'll get a message from GMass saying, do you want to send these drafts or do you want to delete them? So I'm going to create drafts by hitting the GMass button. And we will watch this. It will take a minute or so to build these. We'll circle back on this, but that's basic. That's the basics of mail merge. That's likely why things didn't work right. There's not like a sort of more advanced, thing that tends to go wrong with that. It tends to be a mail merge thing. I know that some people, I see a lot, some people will sometimes go double brackets because that's a way some places do mail merge. That's not how we do mail merge. Another thing to look out for, and I've diagnosed this problem with a few people, is up here in your column headers. Make sure that there's no weird characters or weird spaces. For instance, if it was first name space right here, you couldn't even tell that, but see there's a space and that can throw things off. So I'm going to get rid of that space, and that way I know that, okay, it's just first name. So those are those little like hidden sort of programmer tricks to look for that can throw things off. So that's something to look at too. It has not generated my drafts yet. I do not believe. No. It takes a minute, and we'll circle back. So that's just a little something else to look out for if you're having difficulty with mail merge. Every once in a while, it can be a little something like that. And if you continue to have trouble, of course, you can reach out to our support team. They'll take a look at it, or you can always drop it in, or you can do it. And should you put the greeting line in the actual email? Do it in the template. Well, yeah. So the way to think about a GMass campaign, Karen, is that you're creating one template and then you're mail merging things into it, right? So it's supposed to save you the time from that, as opposed to creating, let's say I had these 6 people. Rather than sending each one of them an individual email, copying the copy over, pasting in their name, typing in their name, this is to help us do it at scale. So the drafts have been created, and you can see here, you can see the mail merge. I had put first name here, and I had put first name here. So that's what it does with the mail merging. And that's the goal here, right? Is that this is saving you time, especially at scale. This was just 6 people. What if you were sending an email to 100 people? So the goal is to just mail merge. The entire goal of it is to save you time. So now each of these people gets their own individual personalized email thanks to mail merge. So as you saw, this one, Greg, is sample1email@gmail.com. So you can see this is only going to Greg, sample1@gmail.com. It says, hello, Greg. The next email, only going to Andrew, who sample emailed to, hello, Andrew. So that's why this is just really a faster way to personalize at scale. And like I mentioned, if you create drafts to check your mail merge, you'll get this email saying GMass drafts have been created. You can choose to either send the drafts by clicking the send drafts link, or you can delete the drafts and then go back into your template and work on those. So yes, Karen, what I would say is, think of the mail merge template as your campaign, and then it's all getting the information filled into it by the Google Sheet you've put behind it. That's sort of the sort of high-level macro view of use of GMass here. So I hope that helps, and I hope that works. If you have more questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Yes, no problem. I'm sorry, I'm speaking really fast because I see so many questions coming in. Yes, I will slow down. So to create drafts here, it's in the GMass settings, which you do by pressing the triangle. It's here in the action section. You have 2 options. You can send emails or create drafts. So selecting create drafts means that when you hit the red GMass button, it will create those drafts like I just did in my example, and it will put them in the drafts folder. If you choose send emails, GMass will just do the mail merge and send those emails out. So create drafts is like a way to double check your work before you send it. I like to do this with my campaigns. I'm a create drafts person in GMass. I like to always check and make sure my mail merges all look right, all are working correctly before I send. So that's how I do the create drafts feature, and that's what I would recommend. However, of course, you may just say, I just want to send them. However, that is how you create the drafts after you've built your mail merge campaign. So I hope that helps. I'm sorry I was going. I'm sorry I'm talking so fast. I am. Yes. And I'm talking very fast because I saw so many questions and I have so much to say. And also, I don't know. I don't know. It's in the morning and I did not drink coffee today. So I don't know. Maybe someone slipped me something. I don't know. But yes, I will. Hopefully that helps, Karen. Yes. Yes. And I'm glad to see you're also a checker. Create drafts, very popular. It's a good way to just double check, make sure everything looks right before you send. You can then leisurely check these out in your folder here before they go out to people. You can make sure they look right. Also, you can even make individual edits on these one by one if you want to while you're in here. For instance, if you just want to say to Karen, yo, you could add that. It auto-corrected it to you, but and then all of these emails will go out when you click the send drafts, and Karen will get that special extra bit. So that's how you can spot check. You can individually add if you don't want to just add to the template, if you want to specifically personalize just one person's email here further along the way. Otherwise, you can use mail merge. No offense taken. I know I talk fast. Feel free. I'm fair game. So go ahead and share whatever you want to share. I'm glad. I just want to help. So if me talking slower, even if it defies my very nature, helps out. I'm more than happy to do that. All right. Please ask if you have any other questions. And let's see. Centaur, sorry, pronunciation. If the plan is to send out 100 emails a day every week until the list is done, 1,000 records, do you feel it's necessary to use spin tags? Well, again, as I said before, using spin tags to vary up the copy in your email, it's not like again, there's no guarantees of anything, right? So spin tags is something that you can use if you want to vary up the copy. It's not guaranteed to boost your deliverability. Some people really swear by it, though. If you're sending 100 emails a day until the list is done, 1,000 records, should you use spin tags? Yeah, you can. It wouldn't hurt, probably. Again, I don't think spin tags hurts. Is it one of the top things that's going to improve your deliverability? I don't know. Things like, obviously, the best thing that can improve your deliverability are people actually opening your emails and engaging with them, clicking on them, replying to them, or in particular, if one of your emails goes to spam and someone marks it not as spam. Those are the biggest things that can help. There are other things that can boost your deliverability as well. Things like using a custom tracking domain. This is something I talk about a lot in these sessions, but using a custom tracking domain, so you're not using a shared tracking domain, making sure your SPF and DKIM and DMARC are set up. These are other deliverability things that you can do. Check out a custom tracking domain and things like that. Spin tags, though, will help. You're sending 100 emails a day for 1,000 records. That's not like crazy high volume at all. So, there's obviously no guarantees. One thing you might want to try is GMass's Spam Solver. So this is something else that we talk about here, but Spam Solver is a tool in GMass. And what it does is you will click Spam Solver here when you're creating a campaign. So I went to the settings, and then here's Spam Solver, right? What that does is then GMass will send a version of your email to a bunch of email inboxes that we own. And we can actually gauge, because we own them, whether you're going to the inbox, whether you're going to the Gmail's promotions folder, or whether you're going to the spam folder. And that way you can actually see, and then we'll also give you these suggestions here of things you can try and then retest to see if you avoid spam. So one of the things you might want to try before you send this campaign at first is using the Spam Solver tool. And then through that, you may be able to then, gauge, okay, this is going pretty well. You know what? I'm going to be extra sure. I'm just going to add a little bit of spin tags in here just to be safe. And that's something that you can try. So, hopefully that helps. And I hope that can, through that, and yes, using spin tags and other deliverability techniques, that you can get your campaign of 1,000 out to the people who you want to get it to. All right. Can I re-explain warming up an email? Yes. So I will cover warming up an email now. But what warming up means is basically if you start a brand new email address, or you have a brand new domain name, or even if you have just an email address that you're used to using to send 1 or 2 email messages a day, and all of a sudden you want to use it for a higher volume campaign, that is a big red flag. You don't want to have crazy spikes in your sending volume, because that is a big message to Google, like something's happening here. And then especially if you're sending like identical content in those and all of those other things, then it starts to feel like you may be sending spam. So warming up an email is just the process of getting Google used to a higher volume of messages from your address, and that those messages are received. So there are some companies out there that offer automated warm-up, which is they will automatically send emails from your address, respond to them from other addresses. GMass used to do that. However, Google talked to us and essentially said, you cannot do this. This is not allowed. So we shut down our email warm-up system, our automated email warm-up system. There are still some places that do an automated warm-up system. They're using a different technique than we were using. They're not sending it through the Gmail API. They're using IMAP. While these are allowed, they're still in a very gray area. So what we recommend now is doing sort of a manual warm-up, especially if you're not sending crazy high volumes. And so with a manual warm-up, what you would do is you would write an email that's sort of similar to the topic that you want to cover, send it to like 2 email addresses that you own. And then on those email addresses on that day, open them up and send a reply from one of them. The next day, send it to like 4 or 5 email addresses, friends' email addresses, or whatever it is. And then increase gradually to the point where now you've shown Google, okay, this is the type of email these are the types of content and email that this address is sending. People want these. Look, they're replying to them. They're getting them. And then that primes the pump a little bit for better sending, for sending better volumes of your campaigns. So that's a sort of the manual warm-up process. And that's what we now recommend doing. Just a little bit, get your email address ready in order to send bigger volume campaigns. So that's what I recommend doing in terms of the warm-up process now. And let's see, where we come. Neil, does GMass still use Zendesk for support? Zendesk is slow and unhelpful. Well, Zendesk is the software. I mean, we do our best with Zendesk. But yes, we do use Zendesk for support. However, our support team is beefed up, and I believe we're getting support responses out faster than we ever have. In addition, like I said earlier, we do have a lot of other new avenues that now we are using for support. Those include, obviously, these weekly office hours. We have our Facebook group. We have, you can drop us a question on Twitter. You can put a question on our Facebook page. We have other avenues as well where we're talking and, where someone may be able to help you out if you have a little pressing issue along the way. However, yes, we do use Zendesk as the back end for our support. And really, the most important thing about Zendesk is that when someone sends an email to support, it's easy for our team to figure out who it should go to and assign it that way and make sure that it gets taken care of and followed up on. So it's just a really good management system to really hope that nothing falls through the cracks and that everybody's getting the response that they need to the emails and to the support requests they have. So Karen, yes. We're back to the point where everyone's talking about how fast I talk, which was true. I've slowed down considerably since then. I hope everyone's noticed. I'm like kicking myself to slow down. Santaroar. Another question. If you create drafts, can you still send based on speed settings? You can. Yes. So if you create drafts, you can still, if you're using the action here of create drafts rather than send emails so that you can check your drafts beforehand, you can still use all of the throttling settings. You can still set the max number of emails you want to send per day, and you can still add throttling pauses between those emails. And GMass will it will make all your drafts without following, it'll internally make the drafts. However, in terms of the throttling, it will still prescribe to what you're saying here. So it will still take pauses between them. It will still abide by the sending caps that you set. So yes, you can still use those. All right, everyone. So I still there's a lot of people here watching, which is fantastic. If you have more questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Since I believe I've reached the end of the questions in the live chat, I am going to switch over to some of the questions that people asked in RSVPs in advance. But I will stop those and take a pause if anyone has any more live questions. So let me put some of these in. Here's one, which was how to use two different emails for different account approach. So I believe that is multi-send. That is referencing what I talked about earlier, which is GMass multi-send, which is where you distribute your campaign across multiple addresses. So rather than just sending from this one email address, I can now take my campaign and GMass will, I think my screen's lagging a little. There we go. GMass will then divide it up across my sending addresses. So here, let's say I was sending a campaign to 200 people. I could send it divided evenly between these 5 addresses. So each of these would send out 40 of those messages to those people. I can also specify, let's say I wanted 50 from this one, but only 30 from this one, and 10 from this one. I could do that. So I can set the number per account, and then GMass will evenly divide the rest amongst the other accounts. So that's how you send to multiple different accounts. Let's see. Okay. Here's an interesting one. And I liked this one. I hope this person's here. Marlin, is there a way to add clients to an always active journey? If I add them to a Google Sheet, would they automatically start at the beginning of the journey? Yes. So what Marlon's talking about are recurring campaigns, which I did mention earlier. And those are, if you have a campaign where you've connected a Google Sheet, you can have GMass check that Google Sheet at an interval you select, whether you could have it daily, hourly, every 4 hours, every week, and then GMass can automatically send that campaign to new people. And what this person was wondering is, does someone start at the beginning? So the answer to that is yes. If you drop them in, they will start there and they will get the auto follow-up messages. We're looking at a campaign as sort of a self-contained thing. We're not looking at it as kind of this like ongoing like newsletter, for instance. It's more of like a one-off thing. So if you're looking to have people come in at different points in a journey, what you would need to do is actually set up each of those emails individually and add people at the step where they belong, because each GMass campaign and its follow-ups are kind of a self-contained journey in and of themselves, and everyone starts that journey at the beginning. All right, we got a couple of live questions I'm going to go back to. Mr. Cheese the Gamer. If we send mail every day to the target audience, it has a chance of being marked as spam, right? Well, yes. Anything has a chance of being marked as spam. One of the things I like to say, and this is not the most popular, but that if you are sending spam, there's a chance it's going to get sent as spam. So what's the line between cold email and spam, right? That's sort of the billion-dollar question in this industry. And one of the big differences is cold email is supposed to be an email that goes to someone who has with a legitimate business interest in what you're sending. So that is to say, if you're just buying a list of 10,000 random U.S. employees, and it's not really about what companies they work for. Maybe you just wanted people who work in marketing at companies, or maybe you just want people who work in product at companies or IT or whatever it is. And you're not that targeted. Even that might be, and you're just kind of blasting it out, then is that a legitimate business interest in them receiving it, right? If you're sending to more targeted emails and you're sending something, for instance, let's say I run content here at GMass. So what is a legitimate interest to me? If you send something about SEO, that would make sense, right? Because I would probably be interested in that. If you're sending something about a link building request, I don't love them, but that is relevant to what I'm doing here, right? If you're sending something because you're a writer or you want to submit articles to blogs, I would be the right person to reach out to there, right? What's not a legitimate business, like if you reached out to me about, business loan financing for GMass, that's not my world. That's not relevant to me. You might not even say GMass. You might just say, are you interested in loan financing for your business? Well, that's way above my head here, right? So that's not relevant to me, right? So if you're sending, you're saying you're sending to the target audience. So if you're sending email every day to your target audience, sure, there is a chance that people will mark you as spam. But the best thing that you can do is make sure that you are sending relevant and targeted emails, like you say you're doing, personalize them. And personalize doesn't just, as I said earlier, personalize doesn't always just mean dropping someone's first name in. Personalize also means that you're actually recognizing that a problem that they have or that they probably have that you can solve. So that's personalization in its own way as well. And then, doing the deliverability things that we've talked about here, which is sending a reasonable volume from different email addresses, which is setting up your authentication protocols, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. It's using a custom tracking domain. It's checking your email in spam solver and using Spintax. All these little things that you can do in order to vary up what you're sending. End of the day, if what Google wants is they want to deliver messages to the inbox that people want, and they want to put spam into the spam folder. So the best thing that can happen is you send a campaign out and people actually open your emails and people actually reply, because that is the best signal of all to Google that this person is sending things that people want to receive. So if you can do that, if you can send things that people want to receive and that people will then open, click on, reply to, mark as not spam, then that's the best signal that you can send that you're not sending spam. And the more that you do that, the more likely it is that your emails are going to wind up in people's inboxes where you want them to go. So that's the best thing I could say. But yes, any campaign has a chance of being marked as spam. Even if you send to 5 people once, there's a chance they could mark it as spam. Sending to thousands every day, obviously that increases the odds. That's 1,000 people who have a chance to mark something as spam versus 5. There's always a chance, but the more that you can target it, the better. And then the less, hopefully the less likely it is that people will mark you as spam and that you'll wind up in the spam folder. All right, let's go to the next one. Imani Showroom Paris. Hi, AJ. I'm actually not AJ. I'm Sam. AJ is our CEO. He sends all the emails for us. I don't know if he's watching today or not, but I will pass your message along to him. Hi, AJ. I really like your system. However, I would like to know if my Google Sheet row can contain 3 different emails. How do I select all 3 emails to send to? All right, so you can absolutely do that. However, the way that GMass works is it's 1 to email to someone per row, right? But then you can CC and BCC within GMass as well. So if you have a column called CC and or a column called BCC, you can put other addresses in there and send it to other people. For instance, in this case, for this sample email, let's say sample2@yahoo.net and please contact me at verizon.dev, right? So now with this campaign, this person would be in the to field, this person would be in the CC field, and this person would be in the BCC field. You can also include multiple people here. So let's say for this person, we wanted to CC sample3 at netzero.org and sample and Jeff at sampleorg.edu. So what will happen here is you don't have to do any work on your end now once you've put them in. As long as your columns are called CC and BCC, you're signaling to GMass that you should CC and BCC these people. So now when you create your campaign and you connect this Google Sheet, this person will be in the to field. These 2 people would be CC'd. No one in this case would be BCC'd. So this is the way you can send one email to multiple people, different people in each case if you want, and then it will go to them. If you wanted to CC the same person on every email, you could either do that here, or you can even just do that in your template. You could always, CC people there, but I don't want to confuse the case. So I believe what you're asking for here is how to do this. This is CC and BCC. You can't, however, have multiple people in the to field of the email. Only one recipient can be 2. You can have as many people CC'd and as many people BCC'd as you want, but we only have one person in the to field. And the reason is that's what we're using now to monitor your this entire journey of that person receiving this campaign, right? We're monitoring the replies based on that email. Auto follow-ups and whether you continue to send auto follow-ups are going out based on the actions of that email. So you get one person in the to field, but you can have as many people as you need here, uniquely CC'd or BCC'd for each contact on your spreadsheet. Will the CC'd and BCC'd people receive auto follow-ups? I believe so. It's a good question, WT. Let me check our article on CC and BCC. It's been a minute. That's a really good question. I think I might have gotten a quasi, I might have CC, BCC, GMass. Let's see. Let's see. Follow up. You know what? Let's run a test. Let's run a test on this and see if those people will get the auto follow-ups. So I'm going to create a quick new spreadsheet. Hope everyone's up for a fun experiment here. Let's testing. Unless someone from our team is here in the chat and can just answer this, but testing, test AF CC. So I'm going to do an email address, and I'll put one of my own. And I will do samg@wordzen.com. Put first name, just so we have one other thing. Sam. We'll do a CC. Oops. We'll do a CC of let's do a different Sam at wordzen.com. And let's try this. So we'll make a campaign. We'll connect that new Google Sheet, which was called Test AF. AF meaning auto follow-ups, not the way that the kids use AF in this day and age. Test AF. Let's see. That's not a good joke. And I'll add that. So now we're just testing auto follow-ups here. Hello. First name, just testing. And let's set up the auto follow-up. And that is here. We will say, if no reply, we'll say, this is a test. Okay. And now now I'm just going to send this square away. And we'll circle back to this. So I'm sending that now. That will go out, and then we will push the auto follow-up immediately, and we'll see what happens. All right, let's do another question while we wait. This is a fun one. Santa Roar, how does the repeat function work? To confirm, if I have a list of 1,000 records and want to send to 100 per day until the list is completed, do I limit it to 100 per day and then repeat 1 per day? You don't have to do that. No. So by default, what GMass will do is if you have 1,000 people on your Google Sheet, say in your campaign, and you've limited your campaign to 100 per day, GMass will send that 100, and then it will pause your campaign, and automatically the next day, GMass will then send to the next 100, and then it will do that for the next 9 days automatically. A repeating campaign is only if you're planning to add new people to your Google Sheet, or you might want to re-engage the people currently on your sheet. But for a simple campaign, GMass sends up until the limit, whether it's the limit you set or whether it hits Gmail's limit, and then by default pauses and resumes 24 hours later. You can dictate the behavior that GMass does when you hit a limit here in the dashboard, settings, Gmail limits. So for instance, here, what I'm telling it to do is this is if Gmail's limit hits, you're setting a personal limit, but I'm saying in this case, we're rerouting to my SMTP server. I could also tell it to GMass to just ignore it and try to keep sending. We have our own internal SMTP server that some people who send opt-in emails will send through. You could pause the campaign indefinitely, and you can choose if you want to force a multi-day campaign to start at the same time. But basically, what you're talking about, Santa Roar, is you're coming here, you've created a campaign, you're sending a maximum of 100 per day, you have 1,000 people on your Google Sheet, GMass will send your 100, you don't have to do anything else. It's all in our hands from here on out. The next day, it will send the next 100. The day after that, it will send the next 100. And it will continue to do this until it's sent to all the people on your campaign who are included in your campaign. It will do that automatically. So you don't have to push the remaining emails if you've set a daily limit. You do not need to use a recurring campaign for that. All right, let's see. Did this one send testing auto follow-up? So this did send. As you can see, this sent to that email with this CC'd. Let's push the auto follow-up and see if it goes to both. And I will do that here. I'm going to go into my auto follow-up section. I'm going to send stage 1 now. So what, for those of you who are not familiar with this button, what this is, I set up an auto follow-up that would go out if someone didn't reply after 3 days. But there may be a case where you want to send your auto follow-up sooner, like for instance, in the middle of this experiment. And so in that case, we have this button here where I can now push this stage immediately. So I'm going to send stage 1. Yes, I'm sure. And I think it can do it. I think it's been, sometimes it tells you have to wait 5 minutes between emails. We do that just so people don't go crazy and make mistakes, but I believe this should push the auto follow-up here. Yes, so it's going to send auto follow-up, and we'll see if it was CC'd for WT's question and to wrap up that experiment. All right, Santa Roar, can you show us how to create custom variables, please? Well, yeah, variables, everything you do in GMass is really creating custom variables, because when you're creating a spreadsheet, when you're creating your Google Sheet, everything you put in the first row, in the header row, is a variable. So no matter what you put here, this becomes a variable that you can then use in mail merge. So if you could do, first line, you could do, business type, you could do, funny anecdote, and then type whatever into each of these. And then when you connect this, so I have this Google Sheet now, right? Email address, first name, CC, first line, business type, and funny anecdote. And now when I connect that Google Sheet to a campaign, those are now variables that I have access to. So as you'll be able to see here, in that campaign, this campaign, closing the windows, I have my screen zoomed in for demonstration purposes. All of those now are available variables. So I've just defined my own variables here, and I can use them. Now, as you might see, I don't put spaces here, right? I have it as first name, not first space name. That's sort of an old programmer thing, but basically, I just find it a lot cleaner for my variables not to have spaces in them. They will work with spaces, but it's often a lot cleaner and eliminates more opportunity for something to go wrong, I think, user error-wise, if you keep them tight. So I'm just defining all my own variables here in the spreadsheet. Anything that I put in the first row, which is GMass looks at as the list of column headers, those all become variables that you can then use in mail merge. All right, should we see if our test worked? Let's see if that's sent. Did it send? We're testing auto follow-ups. This was that the first one or the second one? Test not picking up the alias. No, I'm not. Oh, wait. Yeah, it did go out. This is a test, and the auto follow-up was CC'd. So to answer your question, WT, yes, if you have included people as CC and BCC in your spreadsheet, they will be CC'd or BCC'd on the auto follow-ups as well. So there we go. We now have our answer to that. Are you curious, because I just became curious, if the person who CC'd reply, actually, I don't want to run another test until someone asks, so never mind. I'll do that on my own time, and I will share the results. Okay, let's see. Santoror, another one. Thirdly, what is the best process for response data management? To update our database based on if they replied or not, I imagine this will have to be a manual process. It actually does not have to be a manual process. One thing that you can do here is when you connect your Google Sheet to a GMass campaign, GMass can actually write data back to your sheet telling you some of the basic fundamentals of the campaign. So when when I connect to a Google Sheet, for instance, I connect to this one. Down here in the optional settings, there's this option, which is Update Sheet with Reporting Data. If I choose that when I connect to my sheet, now when I send my campaign, GMass will add a few columns at the end of my Google Sheet, and it will tell me who opened it, who clicked, and who replied, and whether they bounced. So let me show you a screenshot of what that looks like. Here on, let me find a screenshot. Update Sheet with Reporting. Yes. So as you can see, GMass will add these columns, and then when people reply, it will add X's there. So that is the fastest way, so you don't have to then manually cross-reference and go back to whether people replied to your Google Sheet, to your campaign. Another way, if you want to be even more sort of thorough about things, is in your campaign reports. So whether it's in the reports here in the GMass dashboard, or whether you go to one of the campaign reports themselves, let me go to a campaign that has a lot of replies. And because you wanted to see replies. So this campaign had 4 replies. So let's go over to the web-based report just so you can see. Here in replies, I can click, I can see who replied here. It's loading them, sorry. And then I could also here then download the replies as a CSV, as an Excel file, or export them to Google Sheets. So then I could manually then keep track of these. I could match these up on the Google Sheet as well if I wanted to do it that way, if you wanted more robust. But GMass in and of itself can update your Google Sheet with reporting data. So that is a way to take that manual process out. And I've heard from various people over the years how much time this saves them, because it takes it and makes it so it's not a manual process. So hopefully that is really helpful for you. Mr. Cheese the Gamer, thank you. WT, yes, we did it. I love when someone proposes an experiment and we can run them live in these office hours. Leo, the handsome Goldie. We have 100,000 new lead data, and we have to target them by sending them our company's profile so that interested people can get into our permanent data. How do we do that? Well, Leo, that's a lot of people. Hopefully you can. Sending to 100,000 people is a big endeavor. What I would most recommend doing is spacing that campaign out over time, and quite possibly using multi-send, which I covered earlier, which is get your account, get your GMass professional account or a team account, connect multiple different sending accounts, then in create your campaign to those people, and then in multi-send, send it by distributing it across all of these email addresses, and just let it run. And over time, GMass will then send it to all of those people and make sure you're make sure your copy's good and it's enticing people to open. That's a good way you can distribute this campaign across multiple email addresses, get these out to all the people, hopefully limit, your number of risk options. The other way, of course, you could do is by connecting an SMTP server and sending all 100,000 emails, even in the course of one day, from one email address. However, that strategy feels very prone to sending up insane red flags. Just because 100,000 emails, odds are you're not sending anywhere close to that volume on a daily basis, and that kind of gigantic spike in send volume is about as big of a red flag as there can be. So that's what I would recommend. Leo the Handsome Goldie, I would highly recommend checking out the GMass blog post about multi-send. It will walk you through the setup, and this blog post, which I will put in the chat, will hopefully really walk you through and get you what you need. So I really hope that helps. Let's see. Test AF campaign successful. Yes, that test was successful AF. Ty, what time zone is used for schedule time? Google servers users. So it's your time. When you schedule a campaign in GMass, you can choose the time. For instance, let's say I want to schedule this campaign. I want to send it in 1 hour. As you can see, I'm at -7 o'clock. Oh, wow. It says 00 because it's exactly noon then. But so I'm at -7 o'clock, -7 hours after whatever time, GMT, I believe. And that because I'm in the Pacific time zone. So let's say I wanted to send it from the Eastern time zone. I could set this to -4, and then and I can send it to at 1 p.m. today, Eastern time, which is in the past. So I wouldn't do that, but let's say I want to set it at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So you're selecting the time zone. So it's based on your time zone. One area that comes up that may affect is if you don't want to send to people on weekends and you're sending from a different time zone than they're in. For instance, the reason that we don't just have a skip weekends and that some people want to choose to send on, let's say, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, rather than Friday, Saturday, is because of time zone games where if you send it on, if I send something on Friday in my time zone, there's a lot of people in the world who would be getting that on Saturday. So it actually makes more sense for me to send something on Sunday in my time zone, like Sunday afternoon in my time zone, is people are going to be getting it Monday morning as they're getting into work on the other side of the world. So that is a case. But yes, the scheduling is all contingent on your time. And we have that here based on, this whole minus from, I believe, GMT. So that is where the times are based off of. When you set a time, it's always going to have this here, and it's going to always show you based on that. So it's relative to you. What we cannot do, because we just don't know where people are located. So, I mean, it would be super cool if there was a way to send, to someone so it arrived at 5 p.m. for everyone based on where they are, but we don't actually have people's locations, and we can't know that from this as the sender. So, I mean, if you could segment around where people are located, you could set up different campaigns to go out at different times. But unfortunately, we're limited based on either our time or our server's time. And in this case, it's your time zone that we're basing our sends around. So it's always going to be that. What religion is this? I don't know. It's an email program. I believe those are agnostic. Let's see. Ty asked, ideally, I want to be able to choose a draft email where you allow selection of a template. Template selection would be okay if there was a way to prohibit creating a template with each campaign. Choose a draft email where you allow a selection of a template. Okay, so let's go over templates in GMass really quick. The way that GMass does templates is every campaign you send, or every email draft even you create, becomes a template that you can then reuse. Those appear in this templates drop-down box. So you can even see, look, even the ones that I sent earlier today have now become templates that I could then reuse. And when I open up one of these templates, it offers to load the subject and message, I can load the auto follow-ups, and I can load the settings from those campaigns. So I think what Ty's saying is this list can get a bit unwieldy because it has all of your past campaigns. Now, there is a search bar here. So if you knew the name of the campaign, for instance, let's say I know I sent a campaign offering people to increase their MRR. I can type MRR here and boom, GMass is now filtered down to the templates just where I sent MRR. One good way also to keep your templates straight is to use the friendly name feature in GMass. So the friendly name feature allows you to name your campaign, give it an internal use name that you can then cross-reference. So if like, let's say this was MRR for, I don't know, pet stores, then, and I'm doing this in 620. So that way, when I cross-reference it, I'll have that quick visual reference, and you could see that here. The friendly name appears in bold in front of the campaign. You can, however, reduce this list and make it less unwieldy. And you do that here in the GMass dashboard. Up here in the settings, go over to the templates section, and you can manage your message templates. If you don't want a template to appear in your drop-down list, uncheck it. And now it will not appear in that list anymore. So you can remove the templates that are clogging up your list. And that way you can have a more contained list as you're adding your GMass templates when you are sending them. So I hope that helps. Let's see, I want to be able to choose a draft email where you allow a selection of a template. Template selection would be okay if there's a way of creating a template with each campaign. So there's no way to stop it from creating a template. However, you can uncheck the templates. And also we have this option here where you could uncheck everything and get rid of all of them. So I could uncheck every one of these, and then I could just spot check. Like if I just wanted like this one to be available as a template, I could just add these back, right? So that's a way to really significantly limit the number of templates you have available in your account. So I hope that helps with your template management, Ty. Santaror, does this work with Airtable? No. GMass does not work with Airtable. GMass has a native Google Sheets integration. If you're using Airtable, you will need to bring that into Google Sheets in order to use that sort of the mail merge features. How would filtering Google Sheets affect your email sending? So if you filter the original data to manipulate the records to send in a specific way. So if you filter here, like if you add a filter in here, that's not going to affect GMass. GMass is still going to find that because that's just filtering within a Google Sheet is really more of a display thing. All the underlying information is still there. However, you can filter in GMass when you connect your Google Sheet. So let me pull up my sample group again, and I have a good example for here. I have business type here, right? And I've divided these people into two business types: architect and plumber, architect and plumber, architect and plumber. Okay. So now let's connect that sheet, and I'll show you how to filter here. I'll connect it this way because I already opened a template. I'm connecting from a Google Sheet. So that's my demo sample group. And we have this option, this box right here that says filter rows. So what you do here is you type a column name and you have it equal a value, and that way you could filter. So I wanted, remember, business type to equal architect. So we're only sending this to the architects. So business type equals architect. So what I'm telling GMass here is connect to the demo sample group sheet, but only use the rows where people are architects. And I'm going to connect to that spreadsheet. And now, even though there's 6 people here, GMass is only going to have an alias for 3 people because we're only sending this to 3 people. So I've connected, I'm filtering the rows, business type equals architect, and as you can see here, 3 recipients, right? And if I expand those addresses, you see it's sample email 1, 3, and 5. The architects were 1, 3, and 5. So that's how you can filter on the GMass end in order to send to only select rows from your Google Sheet. You can also do more complicated things with filtering, as I think you probably noticed in there. You can have multiple filters. So, for instance, if I only wanted to filter on people who are architects and who are named Yardley, I could have set a double filter, because here in the filter section, you can choose and or, so you can have multiple filter values here as you're filtering your spreadsheet when you connect to a campaign. That's sort of an advanced GMass technique, but if you are curious about that, we do have a good documentation on that. Filter rows, and you could send a mail merge to just selected rows of a spreadsheet. So if you want to do filtering, that's how. Drop that in the chat. Let's see. All right, Santaror, I hope all of this helped. I really hope this I was able to explain everything you had questions about. Of course, you can always ask questions in the future. Imani, can I filter my Google Sheet list? So I want to send an email to all that are from Germany, but no one from other countries. I believe the filtering technique I showed would work exactly like what you're asking for. So again, that's the filtering and that's how I would recommend doing that. So, or maybe sort instead of filtering. So Santor, yes. So let's say you sorted your Google Sheet and you connected it. Sure, I believe GMass will go down sequentially, but yeah, I mean, if you're limiting the number of people you're sending it to each day, then yes, GMass will pick and choose people from each day. Let's see, Ty. It's very good. Let me know if you have more questions on that. To me, create template option is not coming. Well, we don't have a specific create template option, Ample Trails, but everything you make is a template. So while we're not, while we don't have like a template composer, the way that we're looking at it is you can make a template out of your old emails. And if you want to create a template here that's not an email campaign, you could create a template. This is a template. Put your own email address in here. Down here in GMass, create a draft, send that campaign. Obviously, it won't go to anyone because you've created a draft. You never have to send the draft, but now that becomes a template. So now you actually would have this as a template. So that's how you can create a template. In terms of, if anyone's talking about, more designed templates, like what you would see in like a MailChimp where you're dragging and dropping images and stuff, no. GMass does not have that. That is, you can bring in templates to GMass. You can use HTML templates. I have a really good blog article that you can check out here of the ways to bring in more designed emails to GMass. It's actually pretty easy. However, we do not have like a drag and drop template editor. However, it can support to the extent that Gmail can support this, which is pretty well. You can do designed email templates within here. We just do not have that kind of builder built into GMass. All right, let me see. I think we've hit almost all of, well, I'm going to do one more question that we got from an RSVP, and then we're going to wrap up because we're well over an hour here actually today, which is good. Imani, if the initial email was blocked due to demarc problems, can I resend the campaign from another email in the professional account? The professional account only has one email address. You have multiple sending accounts on there. So yes, you could try connecting a different sending account and sending all of the emails through that. But definitely take a look into fixing the demarc problem because that's gonna help you get to the root of a lot of otherwise potential issues. I'm just gonna go over this one, which was someone was asking about A/B testing. So let me copy this, and I just want to cover this one really quick, and then I think we've covered everything else for today. You can go ahead and ask any last questions as well if you have them live. But A/B testing in GMass. So the way you do an A/B test in GMass is with the double curly braces and then pick A/B test. So it works actually similar to the spin tax we talked about earlier, which is you type one option, then in the brackets variation, then another option, variation, another option, and spin. Then here in the settings, in the advanced section, go to A/B test. And here's what you'll do. You choose the percentage of emails you want to send to before making a decision. So let's say you connected a list of 1,000 people, 30%. That means it would send to 300 people, and they would evenly get these different variations. Of those 300 people, 100 would get the version that says hi, 100 would get the version that says hello, and 100 would get the version that says hey. Obviously, you can have other stuff in the email, but just this part is being tested. And then we'll give it some time because we want to have people have time to receive the email and then take an action. And then you can decide what to do with the A/B test. You can either automatically have GMass send the remainder to the winning variation or not. So let's say we wanted to see based on replies based on that. So after 6 hours, GMass would look at how each of those variations performed based on replies, and it would automatically send to the remaining 70% of your list based on the variation that performed the best. You could also do it manually, where then after the 6 hours, GMass will send you an email, it will show you here are the test results, and you can choose which variation you then want to send to the rest of your list. So that's A/B testing. And I believe that is all the questions. So we're actually at the hour 15 mark. We do need to wrap up. I want to thank everyone for joining. Please continue to join for office hours in future weeks. If you have questions, please send them in. It's been a pleasure helping you. Hope you get a lot out of GMass. Hope I was able to answer all of your questions here today, and have a great rest of your day. I'm going to end the stream. Good day.